What if your addiction was about your mind not wanting you to actually experience happiness? Now, hear me out on this, because ultimately, when we're addicted to something, or we're doing something that gives us that pleasure reward outcome, or even the process of it could be quite pleasurable. But we're ultimately looking for that chemical feeling. And doesn't that feel good? And in a way, doesn't that, or couldn't that make you feel happy? Well, if we were to say yes to this, then it's definitely short term, and without a doubt it would need to be repeated. Because if you wanted to feel happy, or you wanted to feel good, you've wanted to feel pleasure, you would have to repeat whatever it was that would give you that experience. Now, this is the whole thing. If your mind knew, even if you didn't know this, but your mind knew this, if your mind knew that it didn't want you to live your life to the fullest, that would equal to being at peace and having a state of your being be in a state of bliss or in a state of happiness, whereas it's so consistent, it becomes like the way you live. If your mind knew that it didn't want you to experience that, wouldn't it lead you away from it? So why would your mind not want you to be at peace or in a blissful state or so happy that you would prefer that? Because ultimately, what we are is we are ultimately an experience that has occurred. And that experience that has occurred was us experiencing something negative. Whatever that negativity was. And this has happened so long ago that, well, you can't really remember, or your mind purposely doesn't allow you to remember. So you don't experience that torment or terror or hardship or trauma. But that never went away. And it will never go away. And what we don't realize is how we're currently living is an outcome from those events. How could we not live from those events? Because you experienced it. Why would that not affect you today? That's impossible. That's like saying, if you experience something now, or if you experience something, today or tomorrow, or anytime from here on, and it's, let's just say it's a terrible experience, or it's traumatic, or it's a really negative experience, and you're experiencing it, and you realize you're experiencing it, and you don't like it, you want it to go away, or even maybe you hate it. Wouldn't that affect how you think about it? Wouldn't that affect how you live your life, or avoid situations that are similar, or maybe you're a little bit more cautious, or maybe you develop some kind of avoidant personality style, even if it's a percentage of how you go about things, maybe a little bit more cautiously. I don't know. Who the hell knows how it's going to affect you? That's the whole point. Nobody knows. Anyone could say, no, this is a bunch of garbage. You're going to be fine, or, it's not going to be that impactful. Nobody knows. And this is what I'm trying to say. Nobody even knows why you are the way you are now. But what I'm saying is, if you believe that there's no doubt that your experiences in life affect how you function thereafter, any experience, then this is completely accurate. I mean, I think this is the reason why, if the weather looks cold outside, instinctively we just get something to put on that would make us feel warmer. Even if we don't go outside, that could even be the case. Because in a way, we experienced the cold in our mind, and it reminded us of what cold was like. Well, this is the whole problem. If we've experienced ourselves in such a traumatic way in the past, your current frame of mind ultimately doesn't want you to experience that ever again. And it will do whatever it can to avoid that. Perhaps compensate your personality in such a way that you could overcome many things in life, or you develop personality traits that allow you to be better somehow. All in an effort to avoid what once hurt you. So, if in our current experience we want to do something that's maybe not the best for us, and we can say all we want that we're in control, but yet we can't get it out of our mind, or it keeps repeating somehow in like a loop, to do this and do that and blah 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 blah. But when we go do these actions, most likely there's some kind of pleasure behind it, or something that we're getting out of it that we want. And most likely that outcome is going to make us less present in this world. And when I say present, what I'm basically saying is we're going to be less who we actually are. We're going to be an altered version of that, to a lesser degree. We may believe we're to a better degree, but the reality is, at the real core of who we are, I mean, do we care how we feel? Do we allow ourselves to feel? Do we allow ourselves to try to be ourselves, or to find ourselves, or to even care about any of that? Or Do we have it all figured out? And none of that even matters. Do we like ourselves? Do we not? And why? Do we care about just how we exist? And what we think? And how we think? Do we care about any of this foundation to just existing without even doing anything? Just this basic foundation. And I believe that when we do things that are addictive or whatever it may be, I'm not saying there is no biochemical or structural component to how the mind or the body's chemistry or just our own innate biology isn't interwoven in any of this, causing us to have those instincts that lead us to pulling us further away from our own current reality that we could improve upon in order to be happier and more connected with. Perhaps it's our soul, or perhaps it's just our own heart, or ultimately being happier. But there's no doubt that if you've had trauma in your life and where you are now compensating to not allow you to be vulnerable, to not allow you to be really true to yourself, to not really allow you to be the best version of yourself, to not allow you to be, at peace and happiness with all of this, and to grow and to work towards improving this, there's no doubt that we are either on accident or on purpose, and most likely not realizing, regardless, that we're pulling ourselves away further from really being who we are, or who we could be, which is hard to even think about sometimes. But obviously we're not in a place of complete happiness or peace or connectedness or love or whatever words you want to use. There's something that's missing. And that something that's missing, we could say it's being replaced by pleasure and reward, and perhaps we could even say that leads to a deeper sense of feeling connected. But ultimately, no matter what we do, it's not permanent, it's temporary, and you're gonna have to repeat and continue, and I'd like to say you could achieve so much more happiness because you could live with happiness. You could live with being at peace. You can live with feeling good. Because if you felt good, you wouldn't want to ruin your current experience. And that's basically what it comes down to. Because we're not feeling good. And we don't really realize what feeling good feels like. So ultimately, stop running away from yourself, because yourself ultimately wants to be happy. And we're avoiding it. Quite simply because in the past, we've had experiences where we were really happy being ourselves. Perhaps we really even knew ourselves really well. But there have been experiences that cause us to not want to be like that. And your mind has never forgotten and is currently coping with that in order to not allow you to be in the place you once were, or at the very least in the place you could be, out of fear that that could happen again. And it doesn't realize it won't happen again because it has happened. You can't erase the past. So you have to work towards avoiding being pulled away from your current moment in order to get the mind to realize there's something here I don't want to avoid.